G'day and welcome back to my workbench. Now, the St Louis has actually had a lot of work done to it, although it probably doesn't look any different than the last video. Believe me, lots have happened. I did finish off the cannons. The masts have gone in, they're glued in. There's channel boards have gone in and fabricated those. I'm in production on the Deadeyes. They're happening. All these things are happening. And I'm using some of this wire that florists used for tightening up dead plants. There's a whole lot going on in this video. Probably best you hang around and watch it and find out. Roll the music. Now, at the end of the last video, I put in all the cannons on the deck. Well, I'd lashed them in. I mean, I'd put them in years ago, but they'd never been fully rigged into place. So they're all lashed in, showed you my simple method, and I've now completed all the tiny little 6-pounders up here on the quarterdeck. Now, that's pretty well the hull finished, bar a few things, but what I'd really like to do is get on with the masts, and that is going to happen. But before I do that, I need somehow to be able to run the shrouds and the ratlines, and they can only be anchored when you put in the channel boards. Okay, so these are my channel boards. They go on the side here of the hull, and that's where your ratlines come down. Now, the kit gives you channel boards like this that already have Deadeyes on them, and they have the little chain plates in place and lots of flash in this moulding, and that's where that one would go there. That'd be the main one. It'd sit there on the hull. But that's rubbish. So what I've done is I've completely cut all that off. Now, I showed that in a previous video. I just stripped those down, noted where all the points are where the Deadeyes need to go through. And in that one, I kind of tied them all on with string. Well, since then, I've come up with a much better method, which is more correctum. And there is my Deadeyes, right there are my Deadeyes. And now I've got some wire here, and this is florist wire, okay? This is for basically tying dead plants together, and it wraps around the Deadeye perfectly, and it fits perfectly. It goes through the hole. That's going to solve that whole problem. That also means I don't have to do what I thought I needed to do in the last video, which was basically rig this up. Here's a photo of what I did. Rig this whole channel board up with all Deadeyes on. I thought that's what I have to do. No, don't need to do that. I can now actually put the channel boards on the side, paint them up, glue them in, have it all set, and then I can come back later and I can drop in these guys, because that wire makes it so much easier than what I was trying to do. If you watched that last video, I was faffing and faffing around trying to get these bloody things to fit and mount to the hull, and I was struggling. But there are better ways to do things, and you live and learn. So I'm revising my method, and that's what we're going with. So let's strip this one down. I've done all the rest. Let's strip this one down and put the holes in it and prepare it for painting. So I start by removing all the bits we don't need. So that's basically, we're going to rip off all of those plastic Deadeyes, and the flash just popped up. Flash actually isn't that hard to remove, really. It just kind of clicks away, see? So get rid of those guys, and then the channel plates down there, yeah, we don't need those. They're just little pointy strip things. Sometimes they're chains, sometimes they're plates, sometimes they're wire. I don't know, they call them channel thingies. Yeah. Pokey bottom downy thingies. So we get rid of all those, and we're left with just that little board. It needs to be tidied up, so we'll give that a bit of a file, get it all nice and smooth, and we'll drill out the very first hole here at the end. Now we'll join two of these together because we've got to make them the same. So what I'll do is use a bit of wire to link up two of them through the end hole, and then all the holes I drill from then on, because see, I've got them taped together so they don't slide. All the holes, I've got little pilot holes there, so I know that they'll all start at a certain point. When that's all done, I just undo my little bit of wire, pull them apart, bingo bongo, you've got two absolutely matching perfect clones of each other. So those two exact matches, they'll fit on either side. So let's test that out. Bit of a dry fit. Yep, that pops in there and fits perfectly. And there we have it. Channel boards are now in. So they're all glued in. They've been left to set overnight. So they're all in place. They're a bit dark there, a bit hard to see. You can see them that way. See them better that way. So they're nice and firm. They've got all their holes drilled in them. We are ready to proceed. Now, before I can actually put the masts in place and start rigging, there's a bit of a problem. Up the top here, I'm missing something. If we have a look at the Airfix instructions, okay, well I've done all that, and I've got that. I've got in the little crow's nest fighting platform. And there's this tiny little thing here, right? Part number 171. Oops, that tiny little thing is this. Only little buggers, that's the back of them, the front of them. They look nicer up that way. And those are the mastheads. Yep, they're just little sort of crosshatch things. Now, on my Bounty, when I had that kit, they didn't exist in the Revel kit, so I scratched them. Now, I've got 3, that's okay, so for my 3 main masts, I've got them. But my 4th one here, it's been broken at some stage and the bit's been lost. So, I'm going to have to scratch one of those. It's really not that hard. Alright, well, let's measure it. We've got half of one here, so we can use that to measure some things. This fat bit, right, the main bit here, measured that out. It's 1.5 millimeters thick. Okay, that's fine. And these cross pieces, the cross trees, 0.8. Well, that's nearly a millimeter. Okay, great. And how wide does it need to be? Well, they've made them all the same. I'm sure they're not all the same on the real ship, but what the heck? We'll go with this. 6.5 that way, and if we go this way, it's just under that. About 5. 4.95. Okay, so I've got to make up some little bitty pieces and then glue them together. So there we go. Round one's from Airfix and my white one. My white one's just a little bit longer, but that's okay. Airfix made them all the same size, but in reality they wouldn't be. Your fighting tops would be to fit the top of each of the masts, and they'll all be different. So this is my main mast, and it has the largest space up the top here. So you can see there's the groove. That's where the yard goes on. There's a little groove here, and it's angled on all 3 masts because they're all at different angles. Well, some of them, front 2 aren't. So that would be the main mast, and that's where mine is going to go on. But what we're going to have to do is, like Airfix has done, we have a look. See, Airfix has left one end open so you can slide it on. So in other words, the mast will slide on, right? Or this will slide onto the mast. So I'll pick the worst one, which is that side, and I'll just cut out that centre bit now. Okay, so now I've made pretty well an exact replica of the Airfix part, although mine's a little bit bigger. And on my main mast, which as I say is a bit bigger than the rest, that should, if we hold our teeth, or grit our teeth, okay, that should slide on there. There you go, just like I bought one. Alright, I'll get those on every single one of these, and then I'll paint them and get this finished. So there we go, the masthead top is now finished. And that's the scratch one. And I chamfered or beveled the edges on it. And now once it's painted, you wouldn't know, would you? It just looks like a kit part. Should have been there. So that is now ready to go in and we're away. Next, I need to glue those masts in and set the correct angles. Now, usually in these kind of ships, the foremast is straight up and down. The mainmast is about 2 to 3 degrees back. It's a little bit too much there, it's falling. Need to be about there. And then the mizzen mast could be anything from 4 to 5 or even 6 degrees back, depending. It varies, but for this period, and for ships that are English and French, it's about right in Dutch. Remember, this is a Dutch design. So a lot of things we're going to talk about in the rigging are going to be Dutch, because basically that's how it came from the factory. Okay, let's get on with putting these masts in and making sure they are at the correct angles, but also centre lined and aligned with each other. Well, the chopsticks are off, yes. This is one of the simplest methods that I know to line things up is to, you can use anything that's long and thin, of course, but chopsticks to me are kind of handy. I've usually got them lying around. So I eat a lot of Asian food. So there we go. So my masts are in, they're glued and they are set. And look at that, we have perfect alignment. Okay, so they're perfectly aligned that way. They're plumbed absolutely vertical. And if we have a look this way, this one is absolutely vertical. There it is. Don't worry about the angle to the back picture, because that's actually not straight up and down. Oh, it's second angle, so it throws it off. But that is plumb line vertically. My main mast is back a few degrees, and my mizzen mast is pretty well how the kit set it. It's back about 5 or 6 degrees. And so that's nice. It gives pretty well the aesthetic look that these ships had. They all varied slightly, and I don't know the exact angles for this particular ship, but they would have been something like that. My bowsprit is still loose, and the reason for that is it needs to be tied in, and there's still some dispute as to exactly how that ties on, because they're always they're fixed because they go right down deep into the hull, and then normally this part here is lashed to basically the beak. So that's how it holds itself together, and then the ropes pull up, right? All the stays pull up. But I'm yet to actually figure that out, so I have to do a little more research on that. And anyway, I kind of knocked this out of the way while I'm doing all of this. So at the moment I'll leave it off while I work on the shrouds and the ratlines. Now this is what I had made in the previous video, and it worked well. I used my little tool, seized it all up correctly there. It did have a line that ran down there, but it was kind of difficult to attach into the channel boards. And as I said, now I found this wire that florists use. And I also got cord counted on the back because I twisted over my cords. Apparently that's wrong. So okay, this gave me, anyway, because I'm doing this again, this gave me a chance to redo it all. One, I've made them a bit longer this time, okay? So that one is slightly longer, and that suits the ship a lot better. I'm also using my florist wire at this end. Right, so that is correct. That's how they would be. They normally wound with wire there. And I've put the seizing on just with a series of knots, not a whole lot of binding. So that's actually technically more correctum. And on the back, I tied it exactly as per the diagram that this particular knot counter was worried about. If you look at the 3 lines there and the stuff behind, you can't tell the difference, right? So you look at this one. Alright, so here's this one. These are 3 lines. You've got knots behind. Right, you'll never see that side. And that's what he spent a whole page describing to me how I wasn't good enough to do videos on YouTube and I shouldn't be allowed here. Who cares? All right, I'll show you quickly now how I tied up the new one. And I do like it being a bit longer, and I'd thought of doing that anyway, so it was an excuse. But quite frankly, the difference in the knotting there, that now is functional to a point, but who cares? It's a model. Now this is the little tool that I made last time for putting in the deadeyes and stretching them out so I could get consistent spacing. And I've made it slightly wider this time. So as always, you pick a couple of nice deadeyes, you know, if they look a bit mangy, you don't want those. And here I'm adjusting and trying to get it, position it, which was a little bit tricky because this one's a bit stiffer. So it's best to do that when they're only half in, Harry, and then they fit in nicely. But eventually, I think he gets them in. You know what I mean? Oh, you're messing around a lot there, Harry. Really? Okay, that one's in. Yep, great. And you can see it's pointing. It's got to always be pointing out, little triangle. So pop in another one. Same sort of flaffle on that one. Get it just about right. Shove it in. I'll be producing these as little 3D printed tools that'll be available on my website soon. So those sort of things. So there you go. I've got my pair. They both point outwards. Okay, they are ready to rock and roll. What we do now is I just make sure there's no obstructions in the holes. So you just put a little 0.5mm drill bit in there. And one of them, yeah, that one was a little bit sort of squeezy. So best to get that nice and free. Cut myself a bit of thread. I think this is about a 0.2mm thread, something like that. Wax it. Make sure it's nice and slippery. You've got to have them slippery. Yep. So in the back, this is the correct way to do it apparently. In the back, and then we make a big fat knot. So I actually do a little triple knot thing here, okay? So triple it over and make sure it is really knotty, because then it's not going to slip back through the deadeye. There's nothing worse than you're doing this and your knot is not fat enough, and then it all slides through and the whole thing's got to be done all over again. So fatness in the knots is important. So okay, we've got a nice fat knot, okay? And now we can thread that back through because it's fallen out. Oh, goodness me, Harry, what's going on? Through it goes. So we're struggling there. Re-wax. Yeah, if you can't get your point in, re-wax and trim the end off, and then it will go through. And often tweezers helps if you've got shaky hands. So through she goes. There we go. Finally, success. And Cess was very happy. And you do the outside one to the outside one. Okay, just like last time. Through it goes. And then we go through to the middle one on the other side, which I didn't do last time. I think I went to the other outside one. So middle one on there, and then we go from middle one to middle one. This is the side that's going to be seen. Okay, they need to line up. So through there, pull there. Then we're coming out on the outside. We're going to the other outside. Through she goes. Bingo bongo. Okay, a little bit of convincing. Hit it, Harry. Hit it. It'll fit. Give it a bit of a thump. Yeah, I think it's through. There we go. That one's through. And now we've got the final one, outside to outside. Oh no, I've got lost. You just put string in holes. Anyhow, that final one comes through, pulls through, and you've still got a crossover. And this is the thing that he was all complaining about. They're still going to cross over. I mean, that is more functional. That's correct on leverage and everything. But who cares? It's still the same. It's still a tiny bit of string that's never going to be seen on the far side. So we just tighten that up across there. A little bit of white PVA, white wood glue. And that'll seal it in place. There we go. She's done. So that is way. Now to get it out, this is the trick of my little tool, is you just pop the deadeyes out, okay, and they fall right through. So there you go. Now we're going to add a shroud. So that fits on, I'm going to put it on the top one, not the one near where that knot was. I'm going to put it on the other one, only because I'm going to highball a knot down the bottom. That knot where we finally ended up, that knot should have been outside and tying around the shroud. It really should have been, but you know, it doesn't matter. This is not going to be functional. I actually want them fixed to a fixed length. That's why I built the tool. That's why I did it all this way, so they all be exactly the same sort of width, right? Or length, not length, width, whatever. The distance between the deadeyes I wanted consistent, because that looks better, and that is usually sort of more correctum. So there we go. That's on there. Now we need some of this florist wire. This is stuff for wrapping around dead plants, of course, yes, we know, and it's very malleable. You kind of stretch it out and pull it with your fingers, you get it nice and straight. And now I'll bend it half round onto my file here, which is going to give me the start of the bend that I need all the way and through there. Now all those bits of string are getting in the way, so you really should get rid of those, Harry. Yeah, get rid of those. Okay, now we can pull our wire through, right? It's like a little paper clip, put it through, and we can twist it and tangle it into place. And that will create exactly what you need. That's just how they're done. So there we go. Ply job. Yeah, guys, riveting stuff. Are we finished? Come on. You got another 7 of these to make, mate. Stop faffing around. There we go. She's finished. That's it. Perfectly done. Well, I've still got quite a lot to do. I've got to make up 16 pairs of these. Yeah, there's 8 aside. So there's actually 32 Deadeyes that get all rigged together. I've got to do that, and I won't have time in this video. So I'll finish that off in the next video. So I'll have that all in, and I'll show you how I attach those Deadeyes to the channel boards and how we make sure we keep everything nice and true when we put in the shrouds. Lots more to show you, lots more to do. Oh, goodness me. As usual, if you've been enjoying what you've been watching, there's buttons down here. I mean, hit the buttons. Apparently, it's really good for an algorithm or whatever that is. You know, just hit it, whatever it is. And if you really like what I'm up to, you can always buy me a curry. Really appreciate that. So that's about all I've got for this video. As I said, next time we will get into the shrouds. We'll get those all done. I'll even get my ratline tool, a new one. Yeah, if you've watched my bounty videos, you know I made a custom ratline tool. Makes it really easy to put ratlines in. That'll be in the next video, along with a whole lot more. So I hope you'll come back for that. All right, it's goodbye from Australia, and it's hooroo from Harry Houdini.